All right, welcome to this little video about how to do a marketing plan. For many companies, marketing plan is the center of the planning tools for how to execute marketing. So for this little video, let me just outline what the backbone of a great marketing plan is. I know that some students use the backbone of the marketing plan for suggesting how best to set up a marketing strategy, and that's a good tool for that as well. Now, if you want to produce a marketing plan, the first thing you need to consider would be the context. The context of the marketing plan basically outlines what you're doing here, how does that fit with other documents, other planning that you do in a company. So the context can be different, and that's why marketing plans can be different from company to company. The first thing you want to deal with would be the challenge. So why at all writing marketing plan? So what is the challenge that you are actually looking at? Is it like just a year-on-year plan? Or is there a special event that have caused you to want to make a marketing plan for this market or for that market, for a number of different markets? So the challenge is the first thing. Then once you've defined why you're doing the plan, then you need to set an objective for what type of marketing plan are you looking for, and when is the marketing plan complete. So what do you want the marketing plan to do? What do you need it to include? The second thing is the scope and the role of the marketing plan. Now again, marketing plan can cover all your types of products, or it can cover some of them. If you have a marketing planning process going in your company, you might have had like a 3 to 5 year plan made. So maybe the scope of this plan would be a 1-year plan. So you also have to consider that in terms of the scope. The third one or fourth one you want to consider would be the stakeholders. So from whose perspective are you writing? So who are you writing for? Is it one organization, another organization? Is it one business unit? Is it another business unit? And what other types of stakeholders will have a stake in the marketing plan? So for instance, if you are looking at a communication plan more or less, and that's about it, you might have the people interested in the advertising, which might be the sales force, could be some customer service people, could be some marketing people. But if you do other things, that could be other stakeholders that are interested and have vested interests in what you do. For instance, if you work with partners, let's say you are McDonald's and they actually split the advertising dollar between the franchise operations and McDonald's Corporation. And so if you do communication marketing strategy for McDonald's, you'll have to include the partners, which are the franchisees, into the stakeholder group, because they will be part of the group deciding about how you execute a marketing strategy. So besides that, the only little extra thing we normally do is talk a little bit about what methodology are we going to follow in the marketing plan. Methodology can change from plan to plan. Let me give you 2 examples. There are some companies that prefer to collect all the data about the market, the environments, their competitors, and their customers in one analytical area into a marketing plan. And then based on that information, work with the different decisions that are needed. There are other companies that prefer to specify a plan based on the 7 core decision areas of marketing, and then they include the different analytical information in the different chapters. So that's just 2 different types of methodologies that can be used to set up the marketing plan. Many companies, they actually have a template for what is needed in a marketing plan, and they differ from company to company. So it could be that easy enough, if you do this for a company, the company actually has a template for what is needed and how to structure the actual marketing plan. So that is area number 1. The second thing you then need to consider for marketing plan is, of course, the analytics or the insights about the situation before you make your decision. So we are talking about doing the marketing analysis. Now, marketing analysis can be a lot of different things. So the first thing you need to know is that we don't just do analysis for analysis' sake. We have a purpose, so we have a need for an information, and then we try to find that information. Because if you don't work like that, you can do research analysis from here on throughout the next 100 years. So all good analysis of markets or introduction to a new year, the analysis we do actually depends on what information do we need to have in hand in order to do some good decisions. The normal analysis, that can cover a wide span. So normally we look at, first of all, the analysis of environments. Environments could be the social, cultural differences in certain markets. It could be the economic environment. It could be the technology environment. So if you work in an industry that has developments in terms of technology, in terms of what makes your products. So if there are new technologies, there might be new products out with new innovations in them. So technology things is another thing you might want to follow. You probably also want to follow regulatory changes. So for instance, I worked for a company that sold big engines for big boats, and they actually had to know what type of emission regulations were there on boat engines in 3 to 5 years, because they have to innovate their engines based on what emission control regulation were coming out, for instance, in the EU within the next 3 to 5 years. So you might want to know something about regulation as well, regulatory affairs, political affairs. So that's the environments. Second area to analyze would be your own company. For instance, if you work for a company like Nestlé, if you work with ice cream, let's say you work in Europe, what you probably want to know is what ice creams have other Nestlé companies launched around in the world. So what capabilities do you have? What successes have you had in markets, in other markets, that might impact the strategy for instance, what products you would need to bring out on the ice cream market for the coming year. So you have to analyze your own capabilities, the products you have, technologies you have access to. In international companies, that can be quite a significant analysis, especially if you have a lot of different business units around the world that all work with different types of innovation. Third area you need to analyze would be your competitors. Of course, you need to know who they are, what they sell, where they sell, what partners they have. So you have to have some intelligence about the competitors you have, their products, and of course their marketing strategies and their marketing initiatives that they run. Fourth area would be information about your customers. Of course, that's the important group. You have to know, what they like, what they don't like, who they buy from, what do you think about this, what do they think about that. So the customer information is crucial information to have in order to look especially at segmentation and target market selection, but also when it comes to positioning, when it comes to communication strategies, when it comes to distribution strategies. So insights about your customers, where they are and how they buy, what do you think about different things, is also an analytical area that's pretty important. Beyond that, we usually talk about partners. Normally we engage different types of partners when we sell products. And that can be distribution partners, like a retailer that sells our products in a supermarket, or it could be a wholesale function where we engage a wholesaler to help us sell the products to retailers that then sell it to consumers. So different partners, we have to look at who they are, if there are new ones coming in, if we have the right partners, or if there are new options there. So we need to know about our partners and their development in sales and their interest and their strategies. Last but not least, we have to analyze our own experience. So if we've carried out different type of marketing initiatives, have we run different types of promotions? Have we tried to change prices some places? Have we run different advertising campaigns or promotional campaigns online? We'll have to learn from what we've done before in the market to see if those initiatives have been active or not, or efficient or not, and have they been effective. So we're looking at our own experience from the specific markets we're in. What have we learned from the activities that we've carried and done over the last year, maybe over the last 2 years? What have worked well, what hasn't worked well, and which things should we do more of and less of? Sometimes we will also analyze experience from competitors. So if we've seen some very interesting moves in our market, we look at how effective have our competitors been and try to learn from either their mistakes or from their successes, so we can also leverage those kinds of elements. So that's the elements that are usually covered in the market analysis sector, and in terms of to what extent, that depends on the information that you need. Of course, you need to specify your information list and then go do the analysis, so you can tailor make your information search to the needs that you have for information. So once you've done the analytics, then the next area to cover in a marketing plan would be the different decisions needed. So the first set of decisions we call value selection. V for value, and then selection. And value selection actually encompasses three types of decisions. First of all, we talk about decision about segmentation. So how do you actually segment a market? So market segmentation is more choice of the dimensions by which you segment a market. So you can talk about, for instance, if you're thinking about a global map of the world, segmentation would be, how you write up, on what basis you write up the map. Are you using longitude and latitude? Are you drawing boxes, or what type of icons are you using to draw up the map? Those things would be equal to segmentation dimensions. So you can segment on a couple of different things. Today, the user segmentation is quite popular for international marketing. There's also companies that use geographical segmentation. So there are a number of different options available in order for how to draw the map of your market. Second decision would be the target market selection, and there are different ways to target a certain market. You can, for instance, if you're looking at a global map, you can decide to go for the whole world, or you can decide to go for one country like Burma or Japan, or you can do a mix of those things. So choose certain markets, certain places. That's called the market coverage strategy, and that's part of the discussion of how to approach a different segment and choosing out what parts you want to be working with. The third decision area within value selection will be the positioning, which is basically on what basis do you sell your product? Where are your product better? In terms of price or quality or availability than the other products on the market. So positioning would be the last decision area in the value selection. Fourth area to talk about in a marketing plan, especially for international companies, would be the go-to-market approach. Call it GTM, go-to-market approach. Now, go-to-market approach basically deals first and foremost with a decision about what mode to use in a certain market. So a mode to use in a market, we covered that in different books and in the class as well. The mode you can choose from is basically how you establish yourselves. One of the simple ways to go into a market is basically if you live in a home market, you can choose basically to export to another market where you try to sell it to whoever wants to import it and let them deal with it. Or you can go the whole other way. In the other end of the spectrum, we have what's called greenfield investments, where you actually start and build a company from scratch, put in your production facilities, put in a sales and marketing team, and invest fully in establishing a new separate business owned by your company, perhaps your mother company, in that country or somewhere in between. So you could also do licensing agreements, different partnerships agreements. In any case, you have to consider the market mode for the markets that you're active in, and markets mode might differ from market to market in certain cases, or in other cases you're kind of using one or the other, or maybe two alternative market mode setup for the company you have across the globe. Once you've chosen the market mode, then you have to talk about the organization. So who will actually be doing sales and marketing, customer service, these kinds of marketing activities? So what is the organization going to look like from your perspective? The last thing you want to do is look at the different marketing activities that are needed for a certain market. Who will be doing what? So what are the roles and responsibilities of the different people involved in marketing in a certain market? So say you are McDonald's, say you are working in Africa, let's say South Africa. You might have chosen to have a certain organization representing McDonald's in South Africa. However, you also have a franchise setup where you try to engage with and help set up different franchisees to run your McDonald's in South Africa. Now, you will have to split, so who does what? So what the personnel that you engage in South Africa, what are they responsible for? What will they do? And the other things that are needed in order to sell your products in that market, who does that and what are they responsible for? So you need to look at the roles and responsibility setup of everyone who is involved in marketing your product in a certain market. The next area we look at is value proposition. VP, value proposition. Value proposition are basically the classical 4 Ps, which is decisions about the products line and the brand. What is that? It's decisions about your distribution, penetration in the market. So who will you engage and how many will you engage and how do you increase your penetration in the market? It has to do with your communication. Communication can be different depending on what company you are. It could be mass market communication or advertising. It could be Salesforce, using Salesforce to go out and talk to your customers, or a mix of that. And then of course pricing, that's another key decision in terms of the value proposition. How much does your product cost in different variations? So those would be the value proposition decisions that are needed. Once you cover these ones, you cover the classical 7-8 areas of marketing decision making, but you only covered what you wanted to do and not how you want to do it. So what we do once we have our value proposition defined, we talk about how we execute the value. So this is V for value and execution. All right, so value execution. What is value execution all about? Well, it's basically how you actually get and then attach yourself to a customer and how you live with them and grow with them over time. So it's basically equal to thinking about the customer buying cycle or the customer journey, how a customer translates from someone that doesn't know you until they are a loyal customer, or for instance, for that matter, you lose them. So what we are concerned about with the value execution is how are we going to approach new customers? How are we going to acquire them? All the different touch points we have, what are we going to do at what point? The customers that we have, how are we going to keep them loyal? How are we going to grow our relationship with them? How are we going to upsell to them? So normally the customer journey consists of different types of functions we want to do, want to approach the customers at different locations at different times in order to handle the whole wide sales process. Normally this includes, for instance, if it's business to business, we communicate up front in order to get new customers to know who we are. Then we send out the sales force to engage with them, to have meetings with them, to sell our products. Once we've sold a product, we might get our account department or customer service department involved in how to set up the product we've sold, how to make sure they use it right, and also to take care of any type of problems they have with the use of the product, and also tie into an upsell opportunity in order to figure out what we need to sell them the next time they need a product from us. So basically we're going to look at the whole process of sales and what are the touch points that we want to have with the customer and when are we going to do different things. Right? So this is the execution of what things do we need to do. We usually put it in terms of the customer journey, the touch points we need for the customer journey, what are we doing at different points in time. So it's a practical outline of things that happens in order to engage a customer and to create a relationship with the customer and to upsell them and keep them. Now, based on all of this, then we actually summarize the whole marketing plan, the plans and the decisions we've made into a financial consequences evaluation. So the last step we do is actually talk about value creation. And value creation in terms of financials. So basically for the value creation, when you do a sales and marketing plan, sometimes that represents the income statement or P&L statement for that specific product group or the specific product or brand. So you actually made a kind of an income statement, a P&L statement for a group of products, which is basically looks like a normal income statement. It's just for a certain amount of the products that you're looking for. So let's say we are looking at our decisions we've made for a product. Could be McDonald's for all their burgers and drinks in South Africa, and we want to look at what does that translate into in terms of financials. First of all, we need to deal with the turnover. So how do we estimate the turnover? How much will we sell based on this plan? So we need an estimate of the turnover. Now, turnover is usually estimated by looking at the different things we sell, so burgers and drinks and French fries and so forth, and then we estimate how much will we probably sell of each of these ones, and then we aggregate that to a total sales. Now, beyond the actual sales, which is of course a combination of volume times price, then we have the different costs that are involved with marketing our products. We usually start to include the variable cost, so the cost that it costs us to produce and distribute the different products we sell. So that's the variable cost side. And then we have the fixed cost, which are, for instance, costs for making new products, for advertising, for sales force, for promotions and different things. So the different costs that are involved in reaching the customers and servicing the customers. Personnel cost is one of the things that's involved in the fixed cost, which is cost for sales force, cost for customer service people, and of course cost for marketing people. And then we talk about the investments we do in advertising, promotions, and other materials we need to produce. That's also part of it. So we try to list all the different costs that are involved, the fixed cost. And once you have the top line or the turnover estimated and you have the variable and fixed cost estimated, you can aggregate it and then you get to the operating profits. If the document you're making are supposed to be a business plan document, you'll have to include what comes under the operating profit, which is appreciation and tax and interest payments and so forth, in order to get to the bottom line profit. But normally for a standard marketing plan that is part of a bigger planning business plan, it is enough to look at the operating profits of what that specific product would represent. If you're going to new markets, and if you do a marketing plan for a new market, there might be situations where you actually need to invest in different types of assets, material assets. And in that situation, you also have to include considerations about what assets are needed, what do you need to use some capital expenditure or CAPEX in order to do. So you have to include estimates of what are the capital expenditures, what are the investments that is needed in order to carry through the marketing plan you have. The last part of the value creation part will be to look at the potential risks. So how big a risk are you taking going into this market with this strategy? How risky is it? What are the risk factors? How likely is it that they happen? And if you can do something about it, how will you mitigate these types of marketing risks? So there you have it. The backbone of a marketing plan consists of, first of all, outlining the context of the plan, what it should include, what's the objective with having the plan, how does that fit into other plans you have. Second, it includes an analytical part that gives insights about the environments, customers, competitors, your own company, partners, experience. It includes the value selection, which includes decisions about how to segment the market, what target market to go after, and how to position your product and brand. The next area includes the 4 Ps, the market, the mode choices, the organization, and who does what. And then comes the 4 Ps, which is the price, the distribution setup, the communication part, and the pricing. Then after that, we deal with the value execution, where we look at the different touch points. So what's actually going to happen from the customer don't know us until they buy from us regularly. How do we approach them and how do you keep them? Once you've done that, then you do the financial evaluation of the value creation, of how much value do you think that you're going to make during the period by which the plan covers. So there you have it. Easy as that. A number of different areas to cover. This type of marketing plan, I've seen marketing plans with this type of content that is more than 200 pages. I've also seen short resumes of this one. Of course, this lends to a plan of certain size, but these elements are typically elements that are found in any good, solid marketing plan. So good luck with it, and hopefully this has been helpful in order to get you some information about what is good for a marketing plan. If you need to know more about any of these special areas, well, then just come see me or look at some of the other videos we produced about how to do different things in marketing.